Why don't more infant formula companies use organic, grass-fed whole milk instead of skim? Why don't more infant formula companies use the latest breast milk science? Why don't more infant formula companies run their own clinical trials? Why don't more infant formula companies use more of the proteins found in breast milk? Why don't more infant formula companies have their own factories instead of outsourcing their manufacturing? We wondered the same thing. So we made ByHeart, an infant formula company on a mission to get a lot closer to the most superfood on the planet, breast milk. Our patented protein blend has more of the important and most abundant proteins actually found in breast milk. We're the first and only US-made formula to use organic, grass-fed whole milk, not skim. We even conducted the largest clinical trial by a new infant formula company in a quarter century, with clinically proven benefits like easier digestion, less spit up, and softer poops versus a leading infant formula. And we make our own formula in the USA and our very own factories in Iowa, Oregon, and Pennsylvania. ByHeart, a better formula for formula. Learn more at byheart.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to Three Terrible Gamers. This is episode 46. I'm here with Colin after we took last week off.
Yeah, we did. Not my choice, it was Ashton's choice.
I was on vacation. We deserved a good vacation.
Poor fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you guys are alright.
Hopefully everyone had a good one.
What is it?
I said hopefully everyone had a good one that's listening.
Oh, hopefully. But we have some fresh topics for you guys this week, and some of them might be some long ones, so we'll just go ahead and jump into it. The Last of Us Part 3 has leaked online.
Yeah, it's no shocker that the leaks have already came out because this game's been pretty much been being talked about since the HBO series got released, with covering pretty much the first game. But it came from Daniel RPK. I don't know what the RPK necessarily stands for. But he went into some detail about these supposed new characters in the game. So from what it sounds like is it's going to be a completely different group of people.
Yeah.
For the most part. Like Ellie's still going to pop up and everything else, but it seems like it's going to be focused. The first sections of the game are going to be with the new characters. First new character is Lucas, a friendly, kind-mannered survivor that will apparently end up turning a little darker throughout the game after he develops a relationship with another young scavenger in the group. Val will apparently be the leader of the house, though Ezra seeks to take control for himself. Mason is a former soldier, though that leak doesn't specifically mention military faction he belonged to, such as Fedra or Wolf. Mason is torn between his loyalty to Ezra, which... Wait, hold on. It's hard reading quotes. My eyes go a little screwy on this one. Loyalty with Ezra and what he believes to be best for the house as a whole. The final character mentioned is in the leak is Gracie, with only her age of 18 to 25 being noted in the whole entire thing. So, I mean, it seems like that, obviously they were running out of ideas with just Ellie alone.
Yeah.
And her whole entire story trope, so obviously getting new characters in there is never a bad thing.
Right, that's true. So yeah, it says at least 5 new. There could be more, and this is just what the leak said. But it says these are a group of scavengers, and so that's all it really had to say. I'll be curious to see how well this game does. I'm sure it'll do fairly well because of the HBO series you mentioned. But I wonder if it'll do better do as good as the first two, since they're kind of mixing it up some and going away from what made it famous, which was Joel and Ellie, which obviously, spoilers, Joel dies in the second game, if you didn't know. But obviously he's not going to be in this game, but Ellie is, like you said, but it won't take like a star role, so to say. So I'd be curious to see how it works out for him and if it'll sell as well or be received as well.
Yeah, and what kind of different infected they are to bring into this game. Because I believe in the second one they only brought like one different one into the thing. Other than that, they kept the same formula with the normal clickers and a couple other boss infected. So, like I said, I think the second one had a thing called a Rat King
I think so, yeah.
that was I got introduced, and then so I'm sure they'll bring one or two different infected in. So the cordyceps will change over to another species of zombie at that point.
Right. Yeah, so while we're on this topic, so like I said, Joel dies in the second game. So do you think the TV series will make him die in the second season? Or will they change it up
I,
since it's so popular?
I, they stuck pretty close to the first game story wise on the show.
Yeah. But I seen
I
rumors that
mean,
they
just
may change it up because a lot of people think, if Joel dies, a lot of people quit watching it.
yeah, that's a risk that you take with it, but at that point, do you take a risk of doing something completely different from what the game is, or do you do what the fans like? Because you think, regardless, they kind of done a good strategy with the whole entire thing because basically 10 years ago is when the first Last of Us came out. So that
Yeah.
in theory, they waited 9 years to even make a show on it. And well, two games, and like I said, 9 years later, they made a show based on the first one. And then, like I said, they pretty much down to a T copied the whole entire thing.
Yeah.
And it played out exactly how the game plays out for the most part, which in itself, being a TV show, more people are going to be interested in it. Now, how many people are going to that watch the TV show but aren't gamers are going to go pick up Last of Us Part 3?
Yeah.
Because there was a crap ton of people went out there and bought the remaster just because they watched the show.
Sales was up 125% after that show released.
hmm So, yeah, again, I see them sticking to their guns, especially since Naughty Dogs has their hands in the development of the show from HBO. So HBO can't really stray too far from the beaten path if Naughty Dog tells them not to do something.
Right. It's up
So
to
at the end
Naughty
of the day,
Dog
it'll
at the
be
end. Yeah.
yeah. So Naughty Dog, it's kind of like Nintendo in that way, I'm going to say, and I said it'll be stick close to the books where you're not going to have it to happen. Now, granted, if they do a thing and they do a not necessarily do what they done with the first season and cover the whole entire game in 9 episodes, but to make the second game like 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that the first game would be more than one season and definitely be more than 9 episodes. I kind of thought they ended it kind of soon. I mean, yeah, the whole game was pretty much
But
panned out, but they could have stretched it out some.
if I'm not mistaken, since you already said Joe dies in the second one, which is pretty much every gamer knows this to a certain extent now, it's at the beginning of the game that he
Hmm.
does bucket.
Right. So it could be the
So,
first episode. I mean, you don't know, but
like I said, there's not really much wiggle room for that because it happens relatively quick in that storyline.
yeah. So unless they just drag it out and then he eventually dies, like maybe middle of the season or something, it happened pretty
Or they
early.
do it with fillers
Yeah.
and make up stuff that quote unquote happened in between because they can do filler episodes type of situations like that, but I still don't see Naughty Dog allowing that to a certain extent. Like I said, maybe 1 or 2 episodes tops, and then it would have to happen
So
unless,
there,
like I said, Naughty Dogs is like, we'll go completely something different, and then that may dive into if they want to do a like 1.5 game eventually.
okay. So you say there's no chance of them just skipping the death or changing the story?
I don't see it happening.
Okay. I just want to know your opinion on it.
Very opinionated on that.
Hmm. I'd love to. I've never played The Last of Us Part One, and they make a PC port.
Again,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I mean, everybody knows about the game, even if you haven't played it. It just everybody knows the story behind it. So, I mean, I want to get it. You know, they have a PC port I can play since I don't have a PlayStation, but just getting it is the thing.
Yep.
All right, moving on. The team behind the RPC S3, which is a PS3 emulator, are working on a PS4 emulator now.
Yeah. As reported by read only memo. I don't know which one that tense is for. They were read or read. I don't really say much on pronunciation wise, but however you pronounce that company's name is the team behind RPCS3. There's too many letters and numbers combination for my dyslexia come into play here, but like Ashton said, as a PS3 emulator, started working on a PS4 emulator called RPCSX. The project appears to still be in early stages of development and isn't the first of its kind, with plenty of other developers also trying to create their own PS4 emulators of varying quality. So the fact that this got brought up and Ashton's a huge emulator person, and who knows how many of you listeners are, it seems like RPCS3 are pretty much top notch when it comes down to their emulators.
Yeah,
So the fact, and then the fact that the article that I was reading on for it saying that the other PS4 emulators are varying quality, so it makes it seem like they're going to come in here and fix what the other people are doing and then make it pretty much top tier to almost playing it natively.
right. Yeah, so that's kind of the reason behind me selecting this topic is emulation is getting bigger and bigger each, it seems like every day. You know, more and more people are leaning towards it just because the three major companies kind of lack on preserving the classics, so to say. So people, if they're not going to remake the game and make it readily available, to not, because retro gaming is getting expensive. Some GameCube games are, over $100 now, and other systems as well. So I mean, that's secondhand, so you don't even know what the quality of the disc is you're going to get if it's even playable. So people are turning to emulation to play these games, and I mean, I don't blame them. I emulate games I own, but most people don't. But anyway, this the PS3 emulator RPC S3. I have it on my handheld PC, and it's really good. And I mean, an emulator that can run God of War 3. I mean, you've played the first two. I don't know if you played three, but I know you played the first two, and they're very action-packed games, and definitely hard for an emulator to run, and especially with a graphics intense system like the PS3. And it's not like a retro system like a NES, so it's got decent graphics for a system the PS3 does, and being able to emulate that on hardware that's not the PS3 is pretty good. And it comes down to the emulator, how good it is and how optimized it is. So this team working on a PS4 emulator, I think they'll do a whole lot better than the ones that are already out there. And you'll be able to play some. I mean, not every PS4 game is going to be, 100%, but at least some of them will be playable. And it's pretty exciting for people that love emulation like me.
What's, I mean, still, what's the science behind the emulation? Like, how I understand they're like basically porting it with like against like obviously Sony's will on it. So I mean that's the whole entire controversy with emulation games, which we've already discussed like way back when the podcast was still in its infancy stages.
Yeah,
But it's still one of those things to where if companies can port the game over with no issues, I'm just trying to see especially I'm basically going to call them hackers on this. How
basically.
can they not necessarily port it over basically how it is on the thing with their quality being so way off.
So how it works is they don't put the games in it. They just make the emulator. So they emulate the PS4 system. So that's why it's not illegal to have emulators. But what is illegal is playing games in the emulator that you don't own. So the company that makes the emulator doesn't provide you the games. You have to get those yourself. So that's where it comes to people saying, oh, emulation's bad or emulation's not bad. It is bad if you play games or download games from the internet that you don't own. But if you own them and you play them in that emulator, that's 100% legal. There's nothing wrong with that. Emulators are not illegal. Just the games that you don't own, downloading them online is illegal. So,
Which is still basically the reason why people get emulators.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the big reason
it's
is
been going on.
yeah, the big reason is people don't want to buy the game, so they get the emulator. But I mean, not I won't say a majority, but a lot of them is truly they just can't afford to get the game secondhand, so they have to turn to emulation. But
Oh, yeah.
the majority
I'm not
is
downing people.
yeah, the majority is doing it illegally. That's where people get upset. But there are some truthful people out there that just can't afford the game, so they have to do it, and they just do it with games that they have owned in the past. And I mean, that's kind of a gray area there. If you have owned the game or you still have the game and it doesn't work, to me, you still own that game. It's not your fault that it doesn't work. So you can download the game, whatever. But, that's still a gray area for people.
Yeah. And those same people that have the gray area are the same people that use Napsters back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, so it's not
Basically the
like the,
same thing as music.
yeah. So the emulator, it's the people behind the emulator, they don't port the games over. They just make the emulator, which emulates the system itself, not the games. So,
Gotcha.
yep.
That makes more sense now because I'm just like, why in the world would they not be able to just pull the game? But I didn't realize that they'd done the whole entire system opposed to just one focus.
One game, yeah. So it's just the whole system, and that's why it's kind of hard to get it right. And no emulator's ever going to play it like the native hardware did. There's no way because the native hardware, obviously, it was made for that system. So, and the people behind the emulators aren't the devs, so they didn't make the system, so they don't know exactly how it was made to make this work with that certain game or different games or whatever. So they can just get as close as they can, and that's why some people have better luck than others. There's tons of emulators for every single system out there, and there's one of the best for every system. So
The mistletoe margarita, the Scrooge driver, the North Pole punch. The holidays call for cocktails, so get everything you'll need for them delivered with Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. So
What's it gonna be?
classics like Bullet Bourbon, Don Julio Reposado, or Kettle One, or maybe something new. Find it all on Drizzly, where you can get beer, wine, and spirits delivered for any holiday festivity. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com today. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of statistics, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and an enormous selection of players and stat options are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million football fans who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Oh,
but
that was a big one.
yeah, it was a big one. That's not even the big one though.
Nah.
All right, here we go. We've kept you guys up to date so far with this the past year that we've done the podcast, so here we go again, and it maybe almost over. Microsoft wins the lawsuit to acquire Activision, but the FTC appeals.
That's not shocking at all. I knew that was going to happen as soon as the decision was made. Whichever direction it went in, if FTC would have been ruled in favor of by the judge, Microsoft would have appealed.
Yep.
So the appeal process was going to happen regardless. It was just which side done it.
Yeah.
Luckily for us, it was Microsoft coming out on top, opposed to that. But shortly after a judge denied the Federal Trade Commission's injunction to block Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard on Tuesday, the FTC has now turned to an appeal court to stop the $69 billion deal once again. The district court's ruling makes crystal clear that this acquisition is good for both competition and consumers. Consumers, not consumers. We're disappointed that the FTC is continuing to pursue what has become detrimentally weak case, and we will oppose further efforts to delay the ability to move forward, is a quote said from Microsoft's vice chair and president Brad Smith in a statement emailed to Gizmodo, which is where I got this section of the thing from. So, yet again, the judge ruled that that the deal was best for everybody and not just Microsoft itself, opposed to what Sony is paying the FTC to pretty much fight on their side.
I was going to get to that, but just go ahead and say it. Yeah, so it says Microsoft won a major victory over the FTC on Tuesday when a federal judge denied on an injunction request from the FTC to temporarily block the tech giant from acquiring Activision Blizzard, but the FTC filed an appeal to their loss Wednesday evening ahead of the deadline of the deal, which is today. So, with the 14th time recording, if you're listening to this later. But anyway, and the judge, she just denied the appeal, which was kind of obvious. If she just said no, of course she's going to deny because it goes back to the same court, to the same judge. So unless they had more evidence, then she's not going to change her mind. But anyway.
Yeah, that's what it'll boil down to, is if they can, quote unquote, manage to get some more, which they've pretty much already thrown everything at them. Even their supposed to be redacted statements that got thrown out there as well, that we talked about a couple weeks ago. So
yeah,
at the end of the day, it was pretty much Sony's screw up with everything else anyways. So the FTC is pretty much, like I said, just there to be like, oh yeah, no, this isn't fair, which obviously they're getting paid off by Sony.
Right.
Because FTC in general, and the judge said it during her initial ruling, is we wouldn't even be having this conversation if it was the other way around. Microsoft would just mind their own business,
yep,
and not say anything. If Sony was to do the same exact thing, they'd be like, okay,
very
cool,
true.
whatever.
It's just that's how Sony is.
Yeah.
And Sony, this deal would go through. The FTC wouldn't have an issue with it. Sony would not offer 10-year deals to anybody, and the FTC wouldn't say anything. They would just let this deal go through if it was the other way around.
Yep, and that's what the judge basically says in one of her decision lectures, is exactly that. She's just like, we're really, because obviously the main thing about it, yeah, it's Activision Blizzard, it's total. So, I mean, obviously it comes with World of Warcraft, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, and all those other type of games. But the main focus is Call of Duty.
Right.
That's what the main focus of it is.
That's the big name that's brought up so many times.
Yeah. And the judge is literally just like, we're literally doing this over a shooter game. How childish does this sound?
Right. Exactly. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, but like I said, they did appeal. The judge denied their appeal. So they did do one thing. They filed a thing for the 9th District Court today, and that was supposed to get a decision sometime today, because if they don't deny or block the deal from going on, it expires at midnight tonight, and the deal will go through Monday morning, and they'll sign paperwork, and we could see Call of Duty on Game Pass as early as next week. If and I'd say most likely the ninth District Court will deny the FTC's last attempt, Hail Mary, to get this thing blocked. And I haven't heard anything as of yet, but they have till midnight to make a decision. And if not, then the deal's done.
Yep, which means it will come to, the whole world will be able to have that privilege as well. It just won't be the United States, it'll be the UK as well.
Yep, which is a topic we have as well here. But
which is still weird that happened in San Francisco, because the fact that it was mainly the UK that was involved in it, they still had the court hearing in San Francisco.
Well, the FTC was for the United States. The CMA was the one that appealed it in UK.
Backwards.
Yeah.
I got them backwards in.
Well, you see, the FTC selected the judge and selected the place of the hearing, and they still lost the case because Microsoft wanted a different judge and a different place, but they still ended up winning the lawsuit. So basically what it is, Sony has to be paying the FTC because the FTC cannot care that much about this deal. And if people, fans it was kind of funny. Like if you look up, well, they already took it down, but like sometime yesterday I think it was yesterday. If you looked up the FTC on like Wikipedia, because anybody can edit Wikipedia, it's the FTC flag was a PlayStation logo. For some fans, and I thought that was pretty funny because basically that's who they're riding right now, Sony, for some reason. I don't know, but yeah. So I'm really excited. I really hope this goes through. Almost there.
I think everyone does. Sony.
Yeah, Sony and Sony's fans. I don't know. They're getting the deal anyway. Well, I've seen some people online are against it because it's going to hurt the PlayStation brand. No, it isn't. They're getting a 10-year deal too. The judge, it's in the court papers. If this deal goes through, they still get that deal. Microsoft still said they will have the papers on them. It's whenever Sony calls, they'll sign it.
Yep. You'll still be paying the same price for it every single year. It won't change.
Right. But one thing is Activision, I've seen this going online. People are blowing up over it because it's really cool. Activision has already upped the servers on any Call of Duties that they have took the servers down on. They've brought them back online so you can go back and play. They're getting them ready to put on Game Pass already. All the old Call of Duties with multiplayer. They've already put the servers back up. So like nice. Modern Warfare all the way through, like Black Ops 2, Ghosts, it's going to be awesome.
The original Warfare.
Yep. Yeah, the original, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2. All of them. World at War. It's going to be awesome. They're already getting ready to put them on Game Pass. They're already putting the servers back up.
Yeah. Get Spec Ops ready to go, baby.
Yep. At the Resistance, fighting some juggernauts on, Wave 10? I think it was. And then 15, and then, everyone so after.
I know we're terrible games. We never really got past that point.
The highest I got was like 30.
I think the highest I got with you when it was like 20-something.
I got 30 with Cole one time.
No lives.
No, it's going to be awesome. I really hope this goes through, and it's looking like it is. While we're at it, we can just go ahead and go through the last one real quick. So, like we mentioned, the CMA was against closing the deal in the UK. So now they're kind of renegotiating.
Yeah, so Microsoft Activision uh, way sale of some UK cloud gaming and rights, Microsoft Corp, which is just how it got sent over, and Activision Blizzard Inc. That's just a weird, rare company. Trying to think here. uh, my words just ran together right there,
Oh, you're
but that's just how the topic thing got sent over to me and how I just typed it all in there.
no.
But Activision Blizzard Incorporated are considering giving up some control of their cloud gaming business in the UK as a way to appease the regulators so they can compete for their $69 billion merger on the July 18th deadline. According to people familiar with the matter, yet again, them showing everyone that it is what they are willing to do for the deal. So, unlike Sony, Microsoft is actually trying to be successful with this instead of just being butts about it.
Yep.
So, yet again, at the end of the day, everyone else is in care for it to go through. But so they're even dropping their business model for right now to try to get this deal to go through, which speaks leaps and bounds for what's actually going on in the situation.
Right. And just when it comes down to it, it just shows how good of a company Microsoft actually is, like how much they care about the players. They're not just caring about themselves. Like they just say, forget the UK, whatever. We'll just have it in the US and, other countries.
Like I said,
Yeah, like you said. But they're willing to drop some of their cloud gaming rights just to get it in the UK to the UK players. And that says a lot for a company. Sony would never, Nintendo would. So that just shows how good of the companies are, Nintendo and Microsoft. They're willing to do whatever it takes to make their fans happy and get games to their fans. Sony's just, they've always been like that. They think about themselves and that's it. If you don't play on a PlayStation console, they think you're stupid.
yep, which is why they had so many issues with Nintendo when it was the PS1 era and everything else, because initially they were supposed to collab with Nintendo for consoles.
Yeah, and then they're like, hey, we're not doing that anymore. We're making our own console with the same name.
Yep.
Because it was going to be the Nintendo PlayStation add-on for the SNES, and then there's like, oh no, we're making our own console called the PlayStation. The only difference is there was a hyphen between play and station for the Nintendo PlayStation. And now with Sony, it's one word. Yeah, that's just how Sony's always been. But like I said, hope this deal goes through, but that is all the time we have. And we appreciate you guys for listening. Like always, you can listen to us live on YouTube and Twitch. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Redbubble, where our merch is, our Facebook, TikTok, all that other junk. Join us on Discord. You got anything?
I think you hit it all.
All right. It's good to be back, guys, and we appreciate you guys for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
All right. Later, guys.